After weeks of waiting, we finally got a weather window to cross the channel from Devon to Brittany. Or so we thought.
Winds and the waves are a little bit bigger than we were expecting. It was an intense first few hours.
We were so excited to explore Brittany, and despite the rough trip to get there, the food that we ate in our first week alone made it worth it. Hi, we're Stu and Laura. We swapped our lives on land for adventures aboard our 36-foot sailboat Delfino. After an amazing summer learning the ropes in the stunning Scottish Highlands, we're now sailing south. Subscribe and join us for a journey full of discovery, learning and delicious food along the way. We're about to sail to France. The day is finally here.
Yeah, it's Saturday the 13th. All in all, we ended up waiting about 2 weeks for a weather window, but I think it's here. The boat is fully prepped. Our list of stuff is done. So I figured that we'd just talk through the passage plan. We should have actually even decent wind to begin with. Like, that looks more like a sort of beam reach.
Okay, yeah, that's more westerly than I thought we were going to get.
Which is pretty good. And the wind will continue swinging behind us, so eventually it becomes a bit more of a broad reach. Then broad reach will move a little bit further to the west, staying on a broad reach, and then around daybreak tomorrow the wind will die off and the final section will be more or less calm. So it should be pretty cruisy sail, just under 24 hours. I think it should be pretty fun.
It's looking like it's going to be a lot nicer of a passage than our last one, which I think we're both very grateful for.
Yeah.
But I think we've still both got some pre-passage jitters and general nerves. It's going to be my first time leaving the UK or leaving where I've been living for an extended period of time. You've done more of that than me in the past. I had to use up all of our cheese before we go, so having my last bit of cheddar this morning was surprisingly emotional. And yeah, I'm looking forward to exploring France, but also a bit sad to be leaving the UK behind for a little while.
We'll be back.
We will be back.
I'm most excited, I think. We've been planning for this moment for months. The boat is so well set up. She's never been more ready to do this. So let's do it. Let's go to France.
Let's go. All right. The nerves started to kick in as we untied the lines. We'd done a short test sail the day before for a few hours, but this was going to be our longest sail for over 6 months. As we raised the sails, we thought we were preparing for a cruisy broad reach across the channel, but it turns out the weather had other things planned for us.
Yeah, so I'm going to just pull a bunch out here.
Okay.
Wow, it's tight.
To be honest, we have currently got 20 knots on the nose, we're doing knots ahead.
Yeah? Alright, should we leave reef 2 in then?
Yeah.
And then if we need to throw a lot more?
Yeah.
Alright. Oh man, I can't even remember how to do this.
No? Huh. Oh well, it stopped. Our first hour or so of sailing out of Torbay was lovely. Super comfortable, the wind on our beam propelling us quickly into the channel. At least that's a better start to the passage than me knocking my other pair of sunglasses off and throwing them into the harbour. Luckily I've got an identical pair that I've now got on. Yeah. Cloud's coming over though, so it looks like we may not need them for that much longer. But it's been a very nice start to the passage so far.
Super fun. So this is what the first stretch of this passage is going to be like, is upwind, sort of 60 degrees. We're hooning along, 7 knots, 6.5 knots. She's fairly comfortable. The new sail is working great. And Laura's just gone down for her first nap. So all in all, things are going very well.
But as we left the shelter of Torbay and turned a corner, the wind picked up, the waves got bigger, and life on board became a lot less comfortable. I was starting to get a bit worried at this point. I tend to get seasick in exactly these conditions, but I hoped a nap might sort me out. Stu was having a great time though.
So this is the kind of thing that I'm doing when I'm on watch. Just keeping an eye on our heading and our speed and how much wind there is, looking around for boats. There's a fishing boat there, I didn't even see him. Saw him now though. So just give you a quick sense. That right one now says, you can see it, 176. The bearing that we should be doing is 170. And it's a little bit uncomfortable actually because we're too close to the wind. But what those two numbers tell me is I can turn to the left a little bit, and the wind, which is coming from that way, will be a little bit more comfortable. So let me show you that process. Laura, we've cracked off the wind a little bit and we're still making our course. I mean, maybe lost a couple of degrees, but that should be like step one in getting more comfortable. So after those adjustments, I'm not sure if you can see, but that course over ground now shows 166, bearing to waypoint 170. So we've turned to the left about almost 10 degrees. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with doing more than we need because Laura's feeling a bit ill. So the further off the wind we are, the more comfortable the ride is. But for now, we continue. Been at it for a couple hours now. Winds and the waves are a little bit bigger than we were expecting. Probably about a 1.5 meter swell, but fairly short period. Laura unfortunately isn't feeling too well, so I've just put some dinner on. The winds are supposed to ease and the period's supposed to get much better, so fingers crossed things will improve shortly.
Cooking in these conditions is really hard. I'd pre-made a risotto that could be reheated in the oven just in case things were rough, but this was much rougher than we'd been expecting. To give you an idea of how bad it was, watch the oven. It's on a gimbal, so technically should be level even when the boat around it is moving and heeled, but even it was struggling to keep up with the waves. The sunny, calm waters of Torbay had lulled us into a false sense of security. I was feeling so confident before the passage that I hadn't taken any seasickness medication, a decision which, as it turns out, was about to come back to haunt me. And so were the cheesy chips that we'd had for lunch.
Good job, Laura. Proud of you, Laura. It's not easy being seasick. Do you want me to wait before I eat some of this for me? I'm guessing that you don't want a bowl.
Stu had his dinner, but I was good for nothing other than going back to sleep as the sun started to set. The weather was starting to ease, but we were about to approach the next challenge of the passage, the shipping lanes. It's our responsibility to avoid the cargo ships in the traffic separation scheme, which meant that we had to be alert to the boats around us, and there were quite a few of them.
So it's now a little bit past 10. Laura's probably asleep, so she's feeling a little bit better. We made it through the first shipping lane without having to adjust course or anything, which is great. Sort of the second shipping lane, sort of in the middle of it. There's a little bit more of it to go. Wind died off quite a lot, but I think we both need the break. Both slowed down. It was an intense first few hours, but we covered a lot of ground. A little bit too far to the east. I'd like to be a little bit more west, but cool.
Just got off from my off watch, got a little bit of sleep. Winds died quite a lot, which is what was forecast, so just need to pull out. I think I'm going to pull out all of the main, pull out some of the Genoa, so just do a bit of rearranging now that we can actually see what's going on. Last night was quite a rolling night. I think Laura was sick a couple of times, but she still stood watch. What a trooper. Managed to give me a few decent sections of sleep. Hoping that we can find a way to sort of make the seasickness less common, but for now it's a beautiful morning. So had to turn the motor on, just the winds most have died. Only got about 25 miles left, going 5 knots for 5 hours. But the alternator, of course the alternator that we installed isn't working, so now I gotta figure out what's going on with that. Laura's not eating much, so it's breakfast time.
Crumpets were never something that either of us ate a lot while we were living in the UK, but once we started sailing, we realised that they were great on board.
stodgy enough to line your stomach, but not so dry that you have to force them down if you're feeling rough. Now that we were heading to France, these last few were a reminder of the familiarity and the comfort that we were leaving behind.
One Laura, one crumpet.
There were two, I managed one. Keeping that one down was the aim.
Moteur de pêche 5N, de patrouille artillerie 16.
They're so chatty.
On passe sur canal 18 et 0 s'il vous plaît.
This morning's been pretty cruisy. Engine's been on, as you can probably hear, but pretty nice weather. This was a hard passage of water. I mean, the waves were surprisingly confused and steep, and we left, as is becoming a tradition for us, we left with a window where we had to start with the wind forward of the beam, which always means that the boat's kind of driving its way into the waves, and it's just uncomfortable. But I guess that was the choice we had, because there's a system rolling through tonight and we had to be in Roscoff. But I'm super excited to get there and try some Brittany cider, try croissant, maybe we'll get a galette, maybe we'll go to a cafe. I get to practice my non-existent French. You know, still worth it in the end. Prettiest things in the world like that.
No, we've got no wind, so they look really sad. This would be such an exciting moment if I wasn't so exhausted. We just got checked out by a boat that said it was a pleasure craft on AIS, but does not look very civilian, shall we say. And they had a good old look at us and checked out our flags. They haven't come and invaded us. They haven't come and boarded and searched us, so that's good, I guess.
That was intense, those guys checking us out. It's like for a brief moment the eye of the state is on you. And I guess that it is when you go through like passport control as well. But for some reason that feels a lot less intimidating. I guess that passport control is in a massive warship that's all painted grey. Well, they're just doing their job.
I suppose now is probably a good time to talk about all the procedures that we need to go through to actually get into France. So we have applied for long stay tourist visas to enable us to spend more than 3 months here if we need it. And that doesn't count towards our 90 days in Schengen that you're allowed as a British tourist now. So we can have our 6 months in France first and then do 3 months in Schengen after that. I don't think we'll need all of that time. So once we arrive into Roscoff, we have to go and clear in through the kind of immigration and border force, which we're going to do tomorrow morning. So I've been in contact with them, I've emailed them a form, and everybody says that it's quite straightforward to do that in Roscoff because they're used to getting big ferries of English tourists. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and touch some wood that is the case for us. And for now, we've got about 5 miles left and we're doing about 5 knots, so we should be in about an hour, which will be 2:30 French time.
Given the night we'd had, we mostly felt exhausted and battered as we arrived into France. But once we were safely in a slip in Roscoff Marina, it started to sink in that we'd made it. The crossing had been really hard, but it was totally worth it to get to France and start exploring.
This is celebration. not because it's from this area at all, but it's Cremont, which we love, and it's this Savoy.
Savoir.
I know how to pronounce that, which is the Alps, which we both love.
It's about 16 hours since we arrived in France. We've slept and eaten and showered, and we are now going to the douane, to the customs place, to check in and get our passport stamped. They asked us to come at 10 o'clock Monday morning, so here we are. Let's see how this goes.
Laura's done way better, like way well at just getting everything ready.
Way well.
Done very well. I was going to say that I slept well, but apparently not.
Apparently not. You have to fill out a form before you come and email it to them, which I've done, and they said to come in now. And we've got our French visas, so let's see how this goes.
They said 10, not 10 to 10, 10 o'clock.
After half an hour of waiting around, we knocked on the shutters and they opened up for us. The officials looked at our form, stamped our passports and welcomed us into France. After checking in, we took down our yellow queue flag, symbolising that we'd done all of the formalities that we needed to, and headed out to explore Roscoff.
We've arrived. We're here in Brittany. We were all checked in.
Yep, just cleared through customs, which is very straightforward. Basically all they did was stamp our passports, and now we're free to explore, so we're going to head into town.
My first impressions are that it's very green. It's kind of like Britain in a way. It's kind of like Britain, but there's definitely some foliage here that wouldn't get the sunlight that I think it needs in the UK. It's got a very distinctive look.
Yeah, more palm trees and kind of tropical plants.
And the houses are so cute and the roads are nice, and I'm loving it so far. First impression's really good.
Yeah, lots of very narrow, windy streets, cute old stone houses. It's all very charming and quaint. Have a tradition, so a sort of sourdough small baguette and 2 pain au chocolat.
Nice. I think that's the most butter flavour I've ever had on a pastry.
Really?
I think so. We made it.
It's a taste of France right here.
Yeah. I'm so excited to explore France.
We briefly wandered around the town, but our thoughts quickly turned to food again, so we headed to a creperie for some lunch.
Are we having lunch The first thing that I've seen on the menu is gizzards, like the innards of chicken. I've ordered a Kier Breton, which is cider with crème cassis in it. So basically a very fancy snake bite.
We ordered galettes, savoury crepes made with buckwheat flour, which was introduced to Brittany in the 15th century when other crops were struggling in the region's soil and climate. Buckwheat became a huge staple for Breton farmers, and given the region's pride in their rich agricultural history and traditions, galettes are still popular today. It helps that they're delicious and often filled with very tasty things.
How was that for first morning?
Oh, what a lovely first morning. If all of our mornings are like this, it's going to be great. And all we've done is get our passport stamped, do a food shop and have lunch.
That was a really great little restaurant experience.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And it was only 27 euros in total. So
Yeah, for both of us to have lunch and have an alcoholic drink each.
yeah, it's great. First impressions of France.
Yeah, strong.
Brittany in particular, very strong.
Here is my little French grocery shop haul, my first one. Had a great time in the supermarket. Mostly bought pork and cheese products. So over the next couple of days, we're basically going to have a ham and cheese sandwich with some salad and then a tartiflette, which is a dish from the Alps with this cheese, lardon, onion, creme fraiche and a little bit of wine. And we also bought some cider, which is hiding back there, which is sort of more traditionally from Brittany than wine. The other kind of local produce thing is that Roscoff is famous for these white onions. So we're going to make our tartiflette with Roscoff onions, which I'm very excited about. Other typical Brittany products, we got some Breton biscuits, which are made with Brittany butter, which again is more what this region is famous for than the cheese. And in case real tartiflette wasn't enough, I found some tartiflette flavoured crisps. Then probably the final interesting thing we got was this coffee from one of the little boutiques in town, which is 70% coffee and 30% Sarasan, which the woman in the shop didn't know how to translate, but we've looked up and it's actually buckwheat, which they make galette from and generally use in a lot of the cooking. So interested to see how this tastes, because buckwheat is quite bitter on its own. So yeah, this will be a little interesting experiment for us with our coffee. We've been in Roscoff for a couple of days just recovering from the passage, and today is a very exciting day because it is market day in town, so we are going to head in and see what we can find. I've got a little list of things that I want to find, so let's see how we do.
Let's go to our first French market.
Let's do it.
Markets were one of the things that I was most excited to experience in France. They are a huge part of life here. For example, as part of our check-in at the marina, we were told what day the market was. Very important information here. And the market was much larger than I expected, with a greater variety of stalls beyond basic produce. As well as fruit and veg, fish, meat, cheese and bread, there were also books, clothes, bags, board games, and foot reflexology bracelets.
There's an ever-present smell of cooking cheese here, which is just lovely.
I've never seen rotisserie chicken at a market before. So it's something I've never seen before. The potatoes at the bottom of the rotisserie that they're selling as well.
As well as the chicken and potatoes, the rotisserie stand also sold all sorts of cooked meat, which we couldn't resist taking home for lunch. As well as a place to buy directly from local producers, the market was also an opportunity for the local people to catch up with each other and the stall holders. It was so nice to see the community aspect, as well as getting to buy some tasty food. It was all reasonably priced for the quality of produce available, and we were glad to be able to be supporting the local farmers.
Next up, cheese. You know what you want, Laura?
Nope. So I'm going to panic and order something probably. So, got bread, got cheese, next step is vegetables.
The lines here take forever. Nice. Oh, this looks good. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Try the potatoes, which is what I'm most excited for.
Pretty good. The ham's very soft. Very juicy. Wow, these potatoes are amazing. They're so buttery and they're not greasy, but they are full of fat. Yeah.
They're very sweet.
They are surprisingly sweet. I can just dig into the flesh, no problem. They're really well cooked.
Although the sail had been rough to get here, the first few days in France made it all worth it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.